Hi, Mr. Fuji, once again.
David.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So to start off, I know you're running as an independent candidate. So could you tell me a little bit about like why you run independent when people talk about two main parties?
Great question, David. You know, in America, we do have two major political parties. They're known as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. California, of course, is mostly Democrat. However, I found when I met with Democrat and Republican voters, they were both upset. They were both dissatisfied with their elected politicians, Democrat and Republican politicians alike. For example, I'm running for Congress in California's 51st Congressional District. El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Spring Valley, and a large part of San Diego. And what I found, a lot of Republican voters are not happy with Mayor Bill Wells, who's running for Congress in 51st, and Sarah Jacobs, who is pro-war with the Gaza genocide. And so I found that the best way to represent the people is to be the change I want to be. I want to be the change that others people want to be by being independent. Because unfortunately, the two-party system is designed to keep ordinary people from running from public office. And that's not good for democracy. So I'm here to make a stand and say, we are going back to our roots of our country of representative democracy. Because right now, the two-party system of Democrats and Republican parties are doing a disservice to the Republican, Democrat, and independent voters of California.
So generally, as this episode's about like taxes, like what are your opinions on like the progressive income tax?
Yeah, the progressive income tax has challenges because the problem is, let me be honest, David, California is expensive. The out of control cost of living, high cost of rent, the inflationary cost of food at the grocery store and gas. Families are struggling. Most people, most families are one paycheck away from being homeless. That's very serious. And so in many ways, families here in the state of California are overtaxed. And I would say this, I will create a new federal tax. What I would like to propose, it has to be approved by the California state legislature, of course, because it follows California state law, that I believe California people that were born in the state of California should have a lower tax rate. So once again, let me emphasize, the people that were born in the state of California should have a lower tax rate than other people that move here. I think that was one way to help alleviate it. It's not a cure for everything because our taxes support an important part of our public employee system, the pensions of firemen, police, and teachers. And I want to make myself very clear to the firemen and the police and teachers out there. Your pension are safe with me. You earn it, you keep it. But make no mistake, Sarah Jacob is spending over almost $1 trillion in unnecessary expenditures. Number one, with the new NDAA 24 passage. And also, it's been going on with the Republicans. They're pro-war too. So if you're concerned about high taxes, don't vote for either party. Vote for an independent like myself. You know, I tell students in math class, Einstein said to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, if you doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is a form of insanity. So what he meant, like if you keep doing an experiment, but you keep doing the experiment the same way, don't expect a different result. You have to do different experimentations in science to get a different result. Well, likewise, I tell voters, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and others to really consider voting for an independent voice like me. Because unfortunately, when you go to my website, fujiforcongress.com, I have a lot of proposals that Sarah Jacobs, Bill Wells, or the Republican and Democrat Party refuses to even discuss. So we've got to lower taxes, and one way we could do that without harming the public services that are funded by taxation is to have a lower tax rate for the Californians that were born in the state of California.
Yeah, on that note, like how about for like the other people who like move in here? Like do you think it would be fair for them? Or like, you know, or what would you do for them like in regards to taxes?
California is one of the largest economies in the world, not just the USA. And so while we do have a lot of opportunities there, say Hollywood, the tech industry, agriculture, tourism, there is a huge benefit for people to come and move here because unfortunately we did have a lot of people move out of the state, which is hurting our economy. So I do believe that depending on how much investment they make in the state of California, they should be given a tax break for those investing in California businesses. I find it absolutely unacceptable that California politicians, Republicans and Democrats, literally kicked Tesla out of the state. The only car manufacturing in the state they kicked out of the state. Unacceptable. So of course, the CEO of Tesla has a legal obligation to return a profit to their shareholders. So they moved to Texas, Nevada, and other places, and now that really hurt our economy. We do have to be pro-business, but at the same time, we have to be mindful of the local California residents that are struggling, that are one paycheck away. Yes, we have to be inviting to new people to move here, as long as it doesn't put an additional burden on us. And let me just say, one way I will help not raise taxes is we have something called a homelessness crisis, a houseless crisis. We have a lot of heartbreaking stories where we have people that are homeless. But some of these homeless people come from different states. So us Californians, we have to pay a lot of taxes to take care of them, which I believe we should. We have a moral and ethical responsibility to take care of our homeless. However, what I would do that's different than other candidates is I will make a lawsuit against the other states where they send their homeless from New York, Illinois, Minnesota to California. We will sue those states for compensation so we could help take care of the homeless people here that they send here, therefore reducing the need to raise our taxes.
So on the idea of like, why don't we just get rid of taxes so that people can keep like their $1 million to spend on like restaurants, spend at car manufacturers, or spend on like movie theaters to like benefit the own public? Like, what do you think about that idea?
Great question. I do believe in universal healthcare. I believe in universal education as long as you see certain grade levels. All this would take taxation and money to support it. And one way we could do that is we can't get rid of taxes because once again, we have the electrical system, we have the water, there's public services like firemen, the police, Caltrans, like maintains our highways. There's a lot of public employees, public teachers, public schools. Those are public employees. So there's a lot of money that we collect in taxes that we need for public services. But at the same time, we spend a lot unnecessarily on projects that take too long. And for example, why do we spend so much money on so many items in the city of San Diego? Our public parks are falling apart. Our public schools are outdated and antiquated. Our kids are working with outdated laptops. Our kids are not excited about school. The lunches are horrible. Kids don't even eat the lunches. But yet we're spending all this money on it. We gotta be careful how we spend the taxpayers' money. And as an independent candidate, I'm the one to bring transparency and accountability. So we can't get rid of taxation entirely. We do need it. But going back to your previous question much earlier on progressive tax, some people should get taxed more based on their income. I'm okay with that part. But I will say we have to do it in moderation where we don't scare away businesses like Tesla. We have to understand that the high net earners, the 1%ers or 2%ers, whatever you want to call them, they have the financial means just to leave the state and come back as a tourist. So we have to be mindful of that. And this is why we had a huge exodus in the past couple of years. And I will say at the moment, our national debt is $34 trillion. The total debt has been estimated to be $97 trillion that you, David, your generation, that's supposed to pay back. And I don't feel that's right. I do have ways to reduce our national debt by $1 trillion. It's a proposal that's a little bit more innovative that we'll talk about in another segment. But at least I'm proposing ways to reduce our national debt because when we owe more money, we have to raise more taxes to pay interest rates.
So, you know, like basically how like taxes, like you say, go to like Social Security, go to the military, and etc. Like, what do you think about this? Like, instead of those, or like, where do you think like our taxpayer money should go to?
The priority should go to the needs of the people. You know, universal health care. A lot of people say that's not right. I don't believe in it. I believe in universal health care because I believe a healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. Number one. Number two, universal education. What do I mean by universal? I believe as long as you keep a C or above, any young person like yourself should be able to say, Fuji, Mr. Fuji, I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to become an engineer. I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm going to become an architect. And not worry about, can I afford that school? All I ask from you, David, is to keep a C or above. As long as a student keeps a C or above, you should be allowed to go to any university of your choice to aspire. Because once we have an educated and healthier workforce, we have a more productive workforce that we could also tax and help the communities that pay into that system.
So you believe that like a student who gets a C should be able to go to Harvard or like MIT or?
If they would be able to have an entrance exam that's based on merit, yes. Based on merit alone, yes. And of course, there's only a limit capacity to Harvard. Every university has a limit to how many students they could allow with Harvard. Now, me, because I'm running for Congress in the state of California, we have a university system, UCSD, UCLA, and so on, where we have a state university system that I feel that is too costly for a lot of local residents. We need to make it accessible to the local Californians here, as long as they keep a C or above, and there's a capability of that university to allow that many students in. If Fullerton University has a limit capacity because they're full, they obviously can't have too many kids in the classroom. They simply can't teach. So yes, based on merit, they should be allowed. And this also goes back to another topic I have in my campaign. The best way to improve education for elementary school, middle school, high school, and higher education is smaller class size. What does that mean? We need to build more universities, more community colleges, and also trade schools. That's very important because a lot of young people like you, David, tell me, Mr. Fuji, why should I go to a university and say, oh, now I owe around $80,000, $50,000, and now they're working at McDonald's. So that's a valid concern. To reinvigorate our kids to get back in higher education, we have to make it accessible. To make it accessible, we gotta make it where it's universal education based on merit.
That was my last question. Thank you, Mr. Fuji.
You're welcome, David.